Tegucigalpa, Honduras. There are two versions of President: Juan Orlando Hernández of Honduras, who is seeking a second term in a country where the idea of re-election is so toxic that another president was ousted in a coup just for talking about it. The first image is one of a law and order leader who pulled his country back from the brink of becoming a failed state. The other picture is one of an autocrat who has imposed his will on every branch of government. That stark difference in perceptions has turned Sunday's election into a referendum on how much control over the country's fragile institutions Honduran voters are willing to cede to Mr. Hernández, a conservative. Re-election means the strengthening of presidential rule and an increase in the concentration of power, said Victor Meza, a security analyst and former interior minister. The result, he said, could unleash an unchecked authoritarianism. Although many Latin American countries now allow re-election, a deep distrust of leaders who maneuver to stay in power persists, a legacy of the region's history of dictatorship. That suspicion is at the heart of this election campaign, in which the opposition argues that Mr. Hernández's place on the ballot is illegitimate. What put him there was a ruling by the Supreme Court, which lifted the Constitution's ironclad ban on presidential re-elections in a circuitous ruling 2 years ago. The 5 judges who made the decision all owed their positions to Mr. Hernández, and their predecessors had been hurriedly dismissed or moved. The ruling went unopposed by the country's political and business leaders who had a very different attitude in 2009, when they removed the leftist President Manuel Zelaya on the grounds that he was maneuvering to find a way around the re-election ban. The coup, and the widely criticized ruling of the hand-picked Supreme Court, were blows to democracy, said Fernando Garcia Rodriguez, a lawyer who served as a minister in 2 governments. There is no more real dialogue, he said. Mr. Hernández is favored to win a second 4-year term because the opposition is split, and he just needs to win the plurality of votes, which his party's base could give him, not a majority. Confidence in the electoral system has eroded among many Hondurans. The allies of Mr. Hernández control the election tribunal. At least 30% of the people on the voter rolls have died or have emigrated, and changes to the election law allow his national party to control the vote count at polling places. The Libre Party, led by Mr. Zelaya, and a smaller party, have formed what they are calling the Opposition Alliance Against the Dictatorship, or the Alianza, to compete in this election, and have put forth the former sportscaster and game show host Salvador Nasser Alla as the coalition's presidential candidate. The third main candidate is Luis Zelaya, not related to the former president, an academic who won the Liberal Party nomination and has broken his party's loose alliance with the Hernández presidency to mount a confrontational campaign. Both opposition parties tie Mr.